the language of organic intelligence is the language of your creative unconscious, and you have, you know, this creative way of working that is completely unique to you. And that the Romans called it this genius, right? We have this genius within us that knows, and my relationship with that is really key. Jung called it the archetypic psyche. You know, we have the ego, I, here I am, I'm doing this stuff. And then there is this inner intelligence, what Jung called this, like this archetypic psyche. And that's the intelligent unfolding, or the muse.
Thanks. One other thing I'm thinking about as I'm listening to you is if you could speak to the genius that's inside of our survival responses and the two aspects of the parasympathetic nervous system. And I know you talk about the really finding a lot of positivity in freeze and how you can really access your imagination from that place. I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit.
You bet. Well, the end game, of course, is the harmonic relationship. Biological synchrony means the harmonic relationship among all the systems of up and down. So you have the fight-flight system and sympathetic arousal, which is big up, big down, but it's also energy, it's also focus. Like all of these survival systems have aspects that are very pleasurable and some that are not so pleasurable. And we tend to focus on what's unpleasant, like sympathetic arousal, like, oh, I'm anxious, my heart is really pounding, or I'm really tense or something. And it has just as much like potency and energy and agency and go get them, you know, to it. It takes a little while to get that, but each of these phases, fight, flight, and freeze, have their positive aspects. And so the positive aspects of the energy system of sympathetic arousal, fight, and flight is energy, is agency, the sense of like, oh, I'm ready for whatever comes, you know, and movement. I can move, and I can do something in the world, and I can see what happens, you know. I can build a fort, and now I've built that, and I can see that I've made that. Like, you know how it is when you work with your hands and how satisfying that is, because you see the result of your action. That's part of what we get from the agency that comes out of the sympathetic arousal and the doing that comes from phase twoing and fight and flight in a subtle range. Freeze, the sympathetic system that moves from sympathetic fight flight into freeze in the emergency levels. So these emergency or survival responses of fight flight also have freeze to them. And the freeze system is known in this theory, the polyvagal theory of Stephen Porges, known as also parasympathetic. Now you have two really distinct branches in the autonomic nervous system. There is the energy system of sympathetic, and then you have the relaxation system of the parasympathetic. But Porges made this, you know, really helpful research, which showed us that the parasympathetic side, or the rest system, has two really distinct branches. One is old. It is the parasympathetic system of what he calls the dorsal vagal system, which in its emergency expression is freeze, like the possum, you know, when it's attacked and then it just goes into freeze, or tonic immobility. It immobilizes, the system immobilizes. It's a brilliant strategy for survival. And so there's that branch. There's the dorsal vagal system, or the freezy business, I call it. And then there is this other parasympathetic side, which is like engagement, social engagement, and that social engagement, that contact, that has this, you know, this emotionality to it, and the warmth and the caring and all. It's what, you know, what most people think of as being like really human. So the part of the parasympathetic, the dorsal system, freezy business that's so helpful for us is really having to do with creativity. If I can get it well integrated with the other systems, like the social engagement system or the energy system, you know, it's really the harmonic relationship among all of these. But it can, the freeze system is also the dissociation system, which is why it's also so creative. Like I can imagine things. I can imagine scary things. I can imagine amazing things. I can imagine creating things that I haven't created before. Right? I can have images. I can create things, because in the freeze system, you don't have a lot of emotion dragging you down to distract you. You don't have a lot of sensation there. It's a kind of a numbing state, and there is the productivity of the imaginal process is really available with that freezy business. And so we can travel, in our minds to, the astral plane. We can go into the middle of a supernova and see the essence of, brilliance or something. Our imagination is limitless, and it is enhanced by my ability to disconnect from this here and now. That is, and all of this comes through orientation, connecting to the environment through the senses, through sensation that tells me I'm here and where my boundaries are. So the dorsal vagal system, the free system, can let me unhitch from this present moment, and I can exit this present moment and enter into, the experience of other dimensions and other experiences that aren't so strictly like me sitting in this chair in this room right now. Right? And so that's really creative. That creative possibility is really something. What we do in organic intelligence is we put it all together. You've got the energy and the capability and the agency of sympathetic and the fight and flight system that's got its mojo working, and the individuality and particularity of one's self and one's attentional focus. And you've got then the warmth of this ventral vagal, the emotional sense of warmth and caring and love and connection, this engagement and social engagement system. And then you have also this expansion, this possibility of expansion where I am not just particular oneness, but a particular one, but I am oneness. I can be part of everything. I am undistinct from anything else at the same time as I can be particular, and at the same time as I have the bandwidth for feeling warmth. So if I've only got 69 to 71, I have, that's better than being these big swings. But if I have 67 to like 77, I can have all of these things. I can have the ventral vagal system, the warmth and the love. I can have the sympathetic system of particularity and singleness of like me and energy and agency, and I can have this dorsal freezy business of oneness with everything. Right? And if you get all of that, if your range grows enough that you've got all of that, then you have a really interesting, vibrant, and loving life. And I think that's our nature, actually.
Mm.
And so all we're suggesting in organic intelligence is that we be able to come back to our own nature and just who we are.